Welcome to the Nagual zone. This is Anaam. Today I want to talk to you about the fifth enemy. That fifth enemy that wasn't mentioned in the teachings of Don Juan. Don Juan tells Carlos Castaneda that a man will encounter four enemies or four gateways or four initiations on his path to being a man of knowledge. And those four are not in necessarily that order: fear, clarity, power, and old age. And I'm here to tell you there's a fifth, and you can run away from at any stage of these four enemies. Any of these four enemies can defeat you, and you can run away from them. Usually the first gateway of fear is enough to deter billions and billions of humans. It's basically enough to deter anyone interested in the Toltec path at the very least. This fifth enemy though, this fifth enemy will appear only at the moment of death. When it appears before, it doesn't appear with as much power, because we all love to live as if we're going to live forever and we have all the time in the world, right? This fifth enemy is biding its time, living inside of you till the very moment of your death. That's when it strikes, and believe me, it strikes like neither fear, clarity, power, or old age can strike you. This is just devastating in 1 second. What enemy is that? Regret. Regret. A lifetime of regrets. Now, let me tell you a little story. Is it true or not? I'll leave you with that. There was once a collection of 4 or 5 women sitting around a kitchen table with one man there as well. The women were celebrating one of their women's birthday. And the birthday girl was on top of the moon. The cake had been cut, birthday had been sung, happy birthday. And she was just feeling loved and fantastic and all the good stuff, right? And she declared something very, very interesting that made the ears of that peculiar man that was amongst them pick up. She said, I have no regrets in my life. If I was to die today, right now, I would really have no regrets. This girl is 30 years old, has lived an entitled life all her life, does not know an existence where if she opens the tap, the water doesn't come out. Clean water doesn't come out. She doesn't know of an existence where if she switches on the light, the electricity doesn't come on. She doesn't know of an existence where she has to go hungry, even one meal. She doesn't know of an existence where her parents don't love her. This is a Western white middle class entitled woman, firmly within the club, the subscriptions of the average man, firmly. She was convinced in that moment that if death was to tap her on her left shoulder, if her death was to come knocking, she would have no regrets. I can assure you that that lady has much to regret, right? This lack of regret, this being drunk on delusion, is what the average man does. Because they simply don't have the penetrative capacity to really go in, and really see what their inner world really is like. Too busy denying and being dishonest with themselves, lying to themselves, drunk, literally drunk, inebriated on delusions, self-delusions. This is not the lack of regret of a warrior. The warrior, she has trained her whole life. She's a professional at honesty. The warrior has trained, focused, paid the price, given the cost of true lack of regret. The lack of regret of a warrior is very, very different than the lack of regret of the average man. You don't want to be drunk on delusions. We can all just say anything, right? When we're really happy or really sad, we just say anything. But the warrior has spent a lifetime practicing sobriety, practicing pragmatism, practicing closing the gap between life and their fantasies. Close that gap so that there's no gap left between life, real life, and their fantasies. It takes a lifetime of training, honing yourself, and training in the right way, not just reading endless books and, applying, learning through trial and error, applying and being trained by people better than you to make a warrior, to forge into a warrior. The warrior, when they say, I have no regrets left in their life, can only say that when they have mastered the art of recapitulation. There's a lot that goes into saying that for a warrior. I have no regrets in my life. If death was to come for me right now, I would go willingly and happily. It takes a lot. When the warrior says that, there's a lot of effort behind it. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears have gone behind it. There's a lot of impeccability, personal power. A lot of land has been tilled consistently for decades upon decades before the warrior can say that, right? So I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say here. Stay away from self-delusive declarations that are just based on you wasting your breath and you're really deluding yourself. Stay away from that. Move into an educated, trained perspective of yourself. Educated perspective of yourself. Right? So that when you are that person of immense personal power, immense inner silence, perfect impeccability, total recapitulation, a master of freedom, able to exist in a state of pristine freedom within themselves. That's when, because when death comes, we only die once in a lifetime, right? So yeah, you can say about these people who come back from dying and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. True death will happen to you only once. It's irreversible. Think about that in light of all these NDE and all this other stuff. True that when death taps you, death is not fucking around. When it taps you, it means business. And your entire nonsense will flash before your eyes. Not in terms of good karma, bad karma, I was a good person, I was a bad person, I feel good, I feel bad. No. Real honesty will surface, real truth will surface, and the only criteria your consciousness will have to judge itself, reference itself by, is how impeccably you lived your life. How much personal power were you able to cultivate, born out of immense inner silence. Those are the criteria death will ask you to judge yourself with. Not, was I a good person? I gave money to the beggars on the streets. I opened an orphanage. I loved my mother. I am a good person. I'm very rich. Oh, I'm a beggar. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, my job is too tough for me. I am this. I am. Death doesn't give one rat's ass about all this other nonsense. It will judge you by your impeccability. I have done other videos outlining what impeccability really is. Not what you or I think it is, what it actually is, what really brings results, what really convinces death to give you a clean ending. Watch those videos. Watch my comments as people ask questions and I comment on those questions. They are very informative as well. I want to leave you with this very powerful line of thinking and self-assess yourself. Self-assess. Am I like that person sitting at the table, giddy with self-delusion? Because it's her birthday, she's feeling great. Got nothing to show for anything in her life. Literally nothing to show for her. And big dreams, I want to be an actress, I want to be this, I want to be that. 30-year-old got nothing to show for it. Works in a nursery looking after troubled kids and hates every minute of it. Has big plans to go to Canada and that's when I'm gonna make it. Nothing's gonna happen. Self-delusion. There's no pragmatism, there's no sobriety there. It's all grandiose fantasies about the self. It takes a lot to give those up. It really does, because we tie our sense of self with these fantasies and we feel that we will somehow become nothing and no one if we give up these fantasies and really align with reality. So you can either give up all this nonsense in the head in exchange for true personal power, or you can stay in that story of the emperor's new clothes. What story am I talking about? If you don't know that, Google it, the emperor's new clothes, and you will see the reference held valid here. So, let me know what you think in the comments below. The kind of regret of the average man that you want to avoid. And move towards a life of freedom, inner freedom, that the warrior enjoys. Personal power, impeccability. On that note, let me know what you think. I am now available to take on apprentices. And I shall see you next time. Walk in freedom. Stay connected.